Clash of Clans podcast presents Scotty and Boaz Rehash number 3. Hey everybody, this is Scotty from Clash of Clans podcast here with another episode with Boaz, who is coming up with a very special episode in the near future. Should be out before the update is out. Anyways, we talked this past weekend, and when two nerds get talking, we can talk for a while. So I cut this episode into two, and so the next episode will just continue right where we left off with this one. So enjoy.
And we're back with the Clash of Clans for the fans in the stands. This is at True Son Boaz. I'm here with Scotty from at WBSMT Radio. How's it going, Scotty?
Very good, very good.
Sweet.
And we're rocking it. It's been a while since we talked about everything in the game, and Jungle Insider left House of L.
The House of L, yeah.
And has been in Kent Farmhouse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm starting up a YouTube channel. Just got everything kind of figured out in terms of how to do it. And it is extremely time consuming.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
A lot of stuff. So I couldn't war in two clans. I took a little time off from the True Sons also. Well, I took one war off, and then I realized that everybody wants to take wars off and stuff, and everyone has an excuse for why they want to take it off. And so if everyone just gets to take it off, then we're not going to have anyone warring if people are jumping out all the time. So I figured, why is my excuse really better than anyone else's? So I'm gonna at least go in and do my 2 war attacks. But man, it takes a lot of time, because you got to scout and plan your attack and choose your army
and see where everybody else is attacking around you. Somebody called it, 'cause you don't want to just pop in and go, "Hey, I'm going to take this," and do it super fast, because like you said, you got to take your time, and somebody say, "Well, I was thinking about hitting that," or then there's so many factors. War is time consuming. It is, even if you're not active, super active in the war, it's still a long process.
Well, and something I've been doing, because if you're getting right in the thick of it within the first few hours, everyone's calling stuff, and there's a lot of. So what I've been doing is kind of waiting till the end, and a lot of it is just I kind of forget to do it or don't get a chance to do it until we're 8 hours in or something, and by then we've 2-starred every single base, and then we have 3 stars on a handful of bases. So I need to look at a Town Hall 9 that's been 2-starred and try to 3-star it, and I'm not real good at that. So a lot of wars I end up with 0 stars now, because I 2-star the bases, but you only get stars to your achievement if you gain any stars. And so I did figure out the formula though. So it's if you 3-star something that's been 2-starred, you get 3 stars because you gained something and you 3-starred it. But if you 2-star something that's been 2-starred, you get 0 stars. Okay.
Boneyard were actually just wondering about that. That we'd have to look into that. But because we were talking about 3-starring a 3-star. To get stars. But it would make sense that it only is when you add a star to something in the war. Yeah,
but that's why it was so confusing before when we were trying to figure it out, because we were is it only the stars you gain? Because it didn't seem to be that. And it was well, is it all the stars you get? Even if, you're only gaining 1, you get 3, but it didn't seem to be completely that. And so, I'm pretty sure that's how to do it. So most wars I either get 0 stars or 3 stars, if I'm successful at 3-starring something.
And it is hard to go in and 3-star any 2-star, I think, because I think a lot of the time, you really play to your strengths if you go first, and you've got a clear base, and it could pull off. But then if you see the way somebody attacked, and then if it's the same type of army, you're well, what am I going to do different, and how am I going to, will my dragons be better than the last person's. Maybe if I, try doing this and try doing that. And then you get into a loop of thinking about it a lot. But whereas, like, I think on first attacks, a lot of times it's like, okay, let's see where I can push this. And sometimes I just get lucky, and I think about those war replays and I think that it always looks like, I'll talk about mine. It always looks like I know exactly what I'm doing. Well, not always. I mean, not always. But I'm like, I go back and rewatch it, and I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, I dropped. That was good. That was a good drop. But in the midst of it, I'm going, okay, wait, I gotta get my wizards out right here, right here, right here. And it's all just going so fast. And so. It's,
and my issue, like, I got to the point where, attacking early in wars, I could, I'd usually use a go wipe attack, but with maybe a couple of witches in there too. And, but I can 2-star pretty much anything because I, will clear out one side, or clear out the edges, send the PEKKAs in, then for the final wall, jump them into the middle, the heroes in there, knock out the town hall, like, boom. 2-star, you get the 50%. But the issue is when I do it like that, which is, the kind of easy, clear-cut 2-star, I almost never get a 3-star because now I have all my shit in the middle and they're sitting there banging on the walls trying to get out of the middle and getting killed by everything. So now the technique that I'm doing to try to get 3 stars is to get in the middle just with wall breakers. Then when my guys are in the middle, use a jump spell to jump them out of the middle. And so I've been, getting a few 3 stars by doing that. But I can't send everything into the middle. I need to have just enough go into the middle to take out the town hall and the core defenses. And then I need a lot of guys to go around the sides. Otherwise, there's just not a shot at 3-star.
I had a couple attacks in this war, or in the past couple wars, and a couple attacks I've seen replays of, and one that I actually had today it went not by the book at all. It was not anything I intended, and it happened in the wars as well. But that was when I got I almost got a 3-star on a 10, or I did. No, I didn't. I don't think I did. But I've seen, and this has happened with Titan and other people's attacks, and it's when you get into the center, but it's like how you want the golems to like be, to get in there and smash it. But if they get it stuck in that outer ring and they just take all the fire while the other troops are kind of walking along either clockwise or counterclockwise, and it's just shielding all of that stuff. That seems like when getting closer to 3-starring.
Yeah, that's what I realize is you really don't want all the golems to end up in the middle because you need someone to tank for your wizards and witches that are going around the edges. So really, if you just get your heavy troops, like your king and your PEKKAs into the middle, with rage and clean that out. But then if you have the golems accompanying the wizards and stuff around the edges and the archer queen and everything, then that's when you're gonna, have success with 3-starring. And I just don't have.
It's hard. I don't know how to do it quite yet.
I mastered the 2-star. A lot of Town Hall 10s and pretty much any Town Hall 9s. Like, I can do that. But everyone in my clan can 2-star all the Town Hall 9s now. So it's like I'm really only contributing a lot, if I can get a 3-star. And so I really need to. But some people in my clan, man, there was a war where Spurshot a few wars ago, he 3-starred 2 max Town Hall 10s in the same war.
Are you serious?
It was ridiculous. It's with Go Wee Wee, just, wizards, witches, golems, you need some pretty solid heroes. But just those skeletons just keep, you have like an infinite amount of troops because the skeletons just keep coming. And as long as the defenses, don't end up targeting the witches, because as soon as the witches get targeted, then you're screwed. But as long as they keep targeting the skeletons, you just have an infinite amount of troops that are just, tanking for you. And
I suppose on something like that too, it'd have to be not well placed, or it'd have to be wizard towers that are placed in the right spot, because I found, like, with those witches, it's like, I'm scared the most of those wizard towers.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the mortars, because the mortars will go what's in front, but that it seems like if a witch gets hung up on a wall, or anywhere near something like that, and there's a wizard tower there, it's like wham.
Yeah, because the wizard tower can vaporize all the skeletons at once. Like, the beautiful thing about skeletons is, even though they have a tiny amount of hit points, the archer towers and cannons need to use a shot on each of them, and so it takes them forever. It's just like you guys were talking about, where you're like, back in the day, you'd be like, well, having level 1 troops in your clan castle, like, at least people need to use a shot on them, that's not going to a different troop. And I mean, it's way better to have higher level ones, but that's kind of how the skeletons are. It's like they, at least waste some time and waste, a targeting that could be on a more useful troop, because skeletons don't really deal much damage. Witches don't deal hardly any damage.
I know. It's so
wizards,
sad too when you see them there. You're going, look at those powerful beasts, and they're like taking their time on
it's like an archer, basically.
Yeah.
Ding,
and you're like, oh ding, no, ding. Like, oh, I'm almost done. I've got 2 witches standing and one wizard, and the wizard gets taken out, and then you're like, oh, damn.
Yeah, now I have no DPS units, because the witches are basically just like a supply of endless tank, whereas, the DPS comes from the, wizards or PEKKAs, or I guess, Archer Queen, or even Velks if you're going to get exotic with it. And
I'm getting exotic with it. This my new attacks.
Getting jiggy with it?
I've been doing this today, and this was why one of them worked. Well, first of all, let me say this. I feel like an idiot because I didn't know that the wizards got cut cost in half and time in half. So this, since the last update, because I used them, I peppered my stuff with them, and so I wasn't always paying attention, and figured that out. And then I saw this giant wizard attack in Wallbreaker by Clash Daddy or Daddy Clash. And I thought, oh, that'd be kind of cool to try. And then I thought, oh, you know what? I'm going to get my barracks going with them, and I'm also going to add Velks. And it's kind of working. There's, I think now with some troop composition, or with some spell composition changes, like I just took this guy, he was a Town Hall 10, not the strongest wall, so that, made a difference. But I used Rage instead of Freeze, and I took 2 Rages, 3 heals, and I got a lot of loot.
Yeah.
And stuff, because, those Velks were taking the hit points, sweeping up fast, and they all circled all the way around. So the Giants were just kind of crashing through in the middle, and doing their thing, kind of, sweeping through, and the rest just wiped around. So
yeah, and that's the key to 3-starring for sure, is wiping around. And also, I guess if you're farming, you want to hit all the pumps and mines on the outside and the storages on the inside and stuff. But that's the thing. I think, I've always thought of Velks as like having really high hit points and stuff, but it seems like when you just have Velks without any tank, like without Giants or Golems, like it just seems like they get killed too quickly. Like they just don't have enough hit points. And
I guess it's probably because they're not targeting the things that are need to be targeted.
Good point. They're not going to the defenses. That's why Giants are and Golems are such better tank, because they go to where they need, where you need the meat shield, which is right in front of the defenses. But yeah, I mean, if you can get the Valkyries to a spot where there's a bunch of buildings together, like in the, right in the core or something, it's real. I mean, especially under Rage, it's pretty awesome. But they're just kind of tricky. The AI is, I don't use them much, but I've seen some people that do some pretty badass attacks with them.
And I keep wanting to figure that out, and I think with PEKKAs, my PEKKA's going to level 3.
Nice.
Yay. Finally.
Only 2 more levels to max.
I know. I'm going, oh, God, this is going to be... I'm excited. In a month and a half, I'm going to get to play with the Go Wipe.
But that, I mean, once you have those things maxed, like, wow, they're freaking awesome. And your alien attack and, stuff like that with P.E.K.K.A.s is going to be amazing because they just, once they get in the middle, if you drop a rage, they finish everything off. But you're going to need to leapfrog out of the center if you want a shot at 3-starring stuff.
Well, and I did have a thought the other day, and I'm like, now I really feel like an idiot about the P.E.K.K.A.s, even though I should have. Even though I was never using them, it's, of course, it's the one you don't use, and all of a sudden it kind of comes. But it can really, I think, serve as a substitute for one of your heroes. I mean, you're going to take away, other troops, but, like, when I think of, like, a Go Wee Wee, and then I don't have a queen or a king, I'm trying to send my 3 big tanks into the center. The defensive ones and the offensive ones, because they're going to last against those Inferno towers, longer. But if my king was down, I would try to compensate with a troop that behaves a lot like the king does.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I mean, Go Wee Wee attacks depend so much on heroes. Like they, because that's some really, because they don't have a lot of high hit point troops in there then, so you really need the heroes involved. Whereas with Go Wipe, like that's what people say is like P.E.K.K.A.s are kind of like a mini king or something, kind of a mini hero, and they do I think more damage than heroes or something. It just depends what level they are, but they I mean the awesome thing is the hero's ability, which totally sets them apart. And they, king has way more hit points and everything, but yeah, the those P.E.K.K.A.s, like it's I love that they can just blast right through walls, like that. Like witches get hung up on a wall and they're just there forever.
Yeah, it's like, hello.
For 3 minutes, but P.E.K.K.A. takes 2 or 3 hits to get right through the wall. And
well, maybe that's a tactic that people could use, because I see this a lot during war. People say my hero's going to be out. Can you, should I leave for this war or whatever?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, maybe instead we could say, all right, yeah, you might be out your hero, but let's have somebody give you a max P.E.K.K.A. To put in your clan castle, if it'll hold it, which it should, most, and just kind of wing it that way, wing it with, if you're using those types of attacks. And I guess people use their king and queens even in the drag attacks, and especially good ones. It seems like they can really strategically drop a king and a queen or to help steer the dragons.
Yeah, but the issue, I think, like kings and queens feel to me so much less useful in dragon attacks or any air attacks, because then when you have a king and a queen, every single ground defense aggroes on the king and queen. Like all of the ones that can't hit the air, they only attack the king and queen. And so you don't have it like spread out among different units, like the beautiful thing about dragon and balloon attacks and stuff is that it takes out half of their defenses out of the equation right away, or maybe not half, but a big chunk of their defenses out of the equation. But then when you put the king or queen down, then suddenly the cannons and mortars and stuff have something to deal damage to. And so I always get kind of bummed. I feel like in air attacks, kings and queens are a lot less effective than in ground attacks, but they still, people can use them in really awesome ways, especially to surgically take out an air defense or something, on the far side, plop them both in there, or to clean up the extra buildings, the extra percent, or definitely. But for myself, I always feel like, if I had a flying hero or something, it would just be so much, go with the attack so much better.
Oh man, wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah, this wizard thing, have you noticed how they said in the whole wizard video thing, he's like, you're the hero, or you're a hero, or something like that at the end.
Boneyard and I were talking about that. And
But that just seems like that would be so OP. Like level 6 wizards are already, deal so much damage, and heroes are already so good that. But I don't know. Maybe a wizard hero would just not.
The other thought that we had was maybe it is going to be a dark troop, a dark wizard,
like a dark.
Because here's part of what's come up about it, and this was in the podcast that we just recorded the other night. Is those commercials came out, and there's the wizard, and then I see on Twitter it says, "What is this rabbit that deals so much damage to a town hall?" Mm-hmm. And so I was thinking about that. I'm like, that's how would this rabbit work? And then Boneyard mentioned that about the hero thing in the commercial, mm-hmm. and then he told me about when you finish with an attack and it goes to the defeat or whatever screen. There's a shadow of the wizard, and there's the archer on one side, and now mm-hmm. there's a shadow of that wizard from the commercial
with the afro and
with a rabbit in his hand. Mm-hmm. So that seems a lot like coming soon type thing.
Well, I think because now the new wizard picture for now is the wizard with the rabbit, and I think it used to be the regular wizard, the archer and the regular wizard in the end battle screen. So they probably just replaced it with that one. But I don't know, maybe it wasn't the wizard before. I don't. But yeah, the what if it was the new dark troop was like the magician or something, and it would do use rabbits and see. I don't know. That might be kind of corny though if they actually
if it was a town hall targeter kind of thing, because that's the thing when they said something about it that deals so much damage against town halls.
Because we've talked about that for a while. That's kind of the one thing that doesn't exist. There's so many things that target defenses, but nothing that targets town and things that target resources.
It would,
but nothing that targets
upset
town
the whole
halls.
Balance of these anti-hog bases, which are also anti-go-wee-wee bases.
Yeah.
If you've got a ring of just resources, mm-hmm. and it's like, well, I'm going to have to destroy everything else for them to go inside. That would be the one thing that would target.
To make it fair, though, it would have to have so few hit points, because otherwise you could just be like, all right, I'm going to let it loose and go for the town hall. It would need to depend on having tank in front of it or something. But that would be, that would change strategy a lot if there was something that targeted town halls. That would, it's so conspicuous though that so in the first year of the game's existence, they put out whatever it is, 13 troops or whatever, or 15 troops, right?
Yep.
And I guess, and 17 with the heroes. So in 1 year, 17 troops. In the next year of the game, 0 troops, right? Because it's been since October.
A little over a year. No, so 1 troop in the second year.
Well, but so from September to October, so in those 13 months, there was 17 troops. And then in the 11 months since then, there's been 0 troops.
Right.
And I think it's because, it's such a delicate balance, the whole attacking system, they have it right now. It's so, such a popular game. Everybody loves it. It works. And so I bet they're super worried and super careful about, throwing in new things just because it could, mess with stuff. And because, even little tweaks that they've done have everyone's in an uproar, oh my God, I can't believe it, and so
the hog
to throw in, and the hero changes, and, there's been a lot of different, a bunch changes to hogs. The change to witches obviously needed to happen because they were way too good when their, attack was solid. But
as an as a defender, I agree. As an attacker, that's the thing that puts you at odds in this game. It's these troops are really good, mm-hmm. And I got to fight against them. But then and then they take them down, so your defenses get better. And then,
that's very true.
Yeah.
but so I mean, it must just be such a a delicate balance, and they want to keep the system working and don't want to screw it up, and so it's just so strange though that they put out so much stuff right away, and then now it's just been nothing. And they had 10. When did Town Hall 10 come out? Like about the same time as the Witch, or maybe a little bit
it must
after
have been.
that, or
because there's going to have to, if there is a new troop, and I think that makes sense, either after another troop, or I don't know, because you're right, the delicate balance. If they were going to put in a new troop, they might also have to add in more defenses or another, and so I think the map also dictates. I think a bigger army camp.
Yeah, and I really I heard the thing you guys were talking about with the bigger
dragon,
map, or bigger village area, and that makes, I like how you guys were, because I always thought they'll just make it bigger, but that's cool to have to slowly clear it out yourself. That would be kind of cool. So some people will have it bigger, some people will have it smaller, some people will say I'd rather have it smaller because then it's harder for the attackers, it's more cramped, or some people will say I want to have it bigger because it gives me more options in my defensive setup. And so
I guess I was there for that, but I think when I was talking with Boneyard, I think what he was really thinking more of little holes. But the way the way you read into that, I think that actually that would be smart.
I was
or a Town Hall 11 gives you, the ability to clear a little more space.
I mean, I think it would have to, because that's it's just, if they're going to add more buildings. I mean, it was interesting with Town Hall 10. I think they foresaw that it was getting cramped, so they didn't add any walls with Town Hall 10, and they add a bunch of walls at each other Town Hall upgrade.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So they're well, it's gonna get a little, cramped, especially before they did the base editor mode. A Town Hall 10 base, trying to rearrange it on screen, in game, oh my god, so frustrating.
And then if something happened, then you couldn't. Oh man.
Yeah, and if something was offset by one, you gotta do everything again.
And I think that's why, even though it's easier now, I think I would have played around with a lot of different base designs. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, and I guess I don't really with Xaze. I just kind of, he's kind of. I'm trying to do it. I hit Town Hall 8, but we've been in these wars, and so I haven't really had time to farm much,
Mm-hmm.
And then play around with new base designs, and it still takes time. But you're right, Town Hall 10 in the old days when you had to move one wall piece at a time.
Yeah, it's and so the other thing about conspicuously not adding any troops for so long is not adding any town halls for so long. They started with 8 was the max, then they added 9. I don't know how long it had been. They already had 9 when I started in March of 2013, and then they added 10. I'm not sure exactly when, but sometime later on that year. And so they added, they had 10 town halls pretty quickly. And then it seemed that they'll come out with 11, pretty soon, and that'll just be a thing. But that's really a delicate balance. Is the loot penalties and the so adding a Town Hall 11 would just be a huge step. And I've always thought that Town Hall 10 players who max out, that they would want a Town Hall 11.
Yeah.
All right, hurry up. Where's the Town Hall 11? I'm ready to keep going. But when I talk to them, they're like, no. I'm so glad to be done with upgrading. Now I can chill and work, play, and I've reached the pinnacle. And so they most of them don't seem to want a Town Hall 11. So maybe I don't know what if Supercell's taking those opinions into account, or they just know that how delicate the offense defense balance is. Or I'm not even. I'm getting closer to a maxed
TH10. I mean, I think I've got the, really big important things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on my Archer towers right now. The air mines took forever.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were really expensive and they'd take 3 days. So it was like my builders weren't, staying busy, once I get up to that. But now with the Archer towers, they're still only 7 days, which is like,
Archer towers don't take too long. Yeah, that's a good point.
So I've been doing well with getting one going every 7 days.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And which is, I only have one done. One's 3 days from done, and then I'm like less than a mil away from another one.
Nice.
And so if I start to think about if I could do one defense every 7 days, I mean, I think within, I don't know, it would be within a couple months, everything would be maxed.
Well, and I wonder if you're going to get, once you finish the Archer towers, if you're going to get kind of sick of it and want to switch to walls for a little while, or, because it seems
I hate walls. I hate doing them. There's no way that's ever going to happen.
Well, do you have any purple ones left?
Yeah, I kept some.
Oh, do you do it strategically, like we were talking about, like making it easier to get into side compartments instead of inner compartment? I think that's a really good.
I can't go back
point,
in those walls, and with the wars, I got to pay more attention to see how they're actually working, if they are driving them. But I was really just tired of it, and and I think like once my defenses are done, then I'll happily do walls. I'll be like, okay, make this, make that. But, my camp with the level 8 walls, I rarely get 2-starred in a war because my defenses are that strong.
Yeah.
I think I've got, a good strategy now. My air defenses aren't maxed. And I was thinking about this, and I think about this at the different town hall levels. I think upgrade your air, and then when you get to 4, when they're like, or this last level is going to be almost 8 million. I'm like, if I start those are, I'll do those next. I mean, maybe I should be doing the air D, but they're the very 4 logical targets, in the game if you're doing like a drag attack. And there's how many Archer towers? 7?
7, yeah.
So I'm like, a stronger Archer tower, it seems like in those wars, people don't target the Archer towers as much. So if I have a little bit more damage, at that level, hitting those dragons, although I think that the air defense should be up. But I'm just prioritizing a little bit with the Archer towers because they're going to hit both ground and air in the dragons, and there's more of them, so they're going to, I think, do better for my defense than maxing the air right now.
Well, and something else, which I'm always like, doesn't matter what it looks like, the guy that doesn't matter what it looks like, it only matters how, what it does, but the max air defenses look kind of goofy to me. Like they're all kind of all over the place and all
cartoonish.
Cartoonish. Whereas the max Archer towers, oh my god, they look so cool. They shoot those awesome flaming arrows. Yeah. So, I mean, like if it's like kind of a toss up, like you're not sure which one. The Archer towers, look way better, and having maybe one upgrade air defense and all the rest are the level 7 or whatever, then it might look a little odd. But so I think that stuff's all like the aesthetic stuff is totally a matter of opinion and point of view and stuff.
And also strategy, because if somebody sees that you've got the maxed air, they're going to avoid a dragon attack, and so, or maybe not avoid it, but that's your certain targets. Can you take it out? And then they might try, a different attack. But with an Archer tower, it fights against several different types.
Yeah, and it's good against balloons and minions. Like dragons have a lot of hit points, but Archer towers the max ones can do a lot of damage to balloon and minion attacks, which during the regular game, farming kind of game, it's much more common than a, all dragon attack. So, you'll probably get hit with, war is really what matters, but
yeah. Well, and you're more versatile, I think. Mm-hmm. But I still with Xace, I keep maxing out my air defenses, as I can, because and kind of putting a priority on them, just because when you're not high in the game, if you're, 8s or 9s, even dragon attacks with with everything, it has to go right, mm-hmm. But at those lower levels, it's a really easy last resort just to send in drags to wipe out a base if you're a higher level. Drop down, mm-hmm. take them out with dragons. But those air defenses in those type of attacks,
and I'm
can be
looking
very
at
key.
the stats here. I figured I should pull it up. The max archer tower, it goes from 75 damage, so plus 11. Then the hit points, it goes from 750 plus 40. And then the air defense, 280 plus 40 in the damage, and 1100 plus 60 in the hit points. And so the air defense goes up more, but in terms of like the ratio or the percentage that it goes up, it's pretty close. So neither one has a very clear advantage there, because only
except for against ground troops. The only benefit is that you get the ground troop,
mm-hmm. and farther range too with the archer towers. I think the rate of fire is about the same. I should check that. Actually, air defense probably has a faster rate of fire, picturing it, but yeah, I mean, that's the air defenses against ground attacks are just completely useless. You just have something that all they do is attract, golems and giants, and they don't do anything else for you. So let's see it doesn't say, it says the range. Oh, it doesn't say the rate of fire anywhere. That's interesting. I bet it says it on the wiki or something though. But they have the exact same range actually. Huh. I think they have similar rate of fire. So yeah, that's kind of a toss-up.
None of them seem to say the rate of fire.
Yeah, which is kind of weird. You'd think, that's a very important stat, because considering that cannons have a faster rate of fire, like just looking at the stats that they give you in game, you'd think that cannons would be much worse, but taking into account the rate of fire, it makes a big difference. And how slow mortars are, makes a huge difference.
Well, and that's always the misleading thing about the mortars, is that I think they fire every 4 to 5 seconds, and mm-hmm. so their damage per second on the stat screen says that they're much lower. But
and the other thing is
because it's damage per second.
Well, and it's splash damage.
Yeah.
So the way that they figure splash damage just is really hard to compare with the single target attack. So it's like, mortars do 5 damage and, cannons do, 200 or, whatever.
But they would do
lower
20,
levels.
let's say, but really what they're doing is 25 damage because it's damage per second.
Well, and they're doing like 5 per square, and then it hits multiple squares, or like, I don't really know how splash damage is calculated, but it's also that, because
I think it's calculated by anything in the splash area is going to get mm-hmm. however much damage from that one cannon fire.
But no, it can't be, because like, let me look, because it says like mortar does like 8 damage or something. Let me see here. Mortar does 11 damage at level 7. 11 damage. So that means it should take several mortar shots to take out a max archer or barb or something, but you really know that it takes one mortar shot, let me look at the hit points on I gotta look at barracks.
Because if you look at the damage, if you look at the mortar statistics, like mm-hmm. I got a level 8, it says 13, but mm-hmm. if it only fires every 5 seconds, then you multiply that by 5, which would still not seem right. I don't know.
Oh, I see what you're saying, because it's Wait.
Damage per second is 13, but they don't fire every second.
Yeah, so it should actually be so it should be like 4 times the. Oh, so maybe it doesn't have to do with splash damage. Oh, because it would be each shot is much stronger than 13, but it's 13 per second.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's actually a way that makes sense, because I always wondered, like, the splash damage seemed so weird.
And so if you're listening to the podcast and you're new, to the game, and you're looking at it, we say splash damage, and even with the wizard towers, the wizard towers is damage per second is 48. Mm-hmm. And a wizard,
but they do it quicker.
And then an archer tower is 80, or 75, let's say. Well. Mm-hmm. The wizard's doing it twice, maybe,
Well, no, I think that
every shot will be like 88 with a wizard.
But no, it's true. It is
it's a
slow.
Rate of
Wizards
fire.
Are slower.
Like the rate
and they
of
really
fire.
Need to put rate of fire on this. That's weird that they don't have that statistic there, because it's such an important statistic. Huh. But I think you're right that it is just taking that into account. I always figured that splash damage.
I could never figure it out back before. I'd go, why does it say it's so low, but they can take out these barbs?
No, I always figured there was like a mysterious formula for splash damage, but it's probably just the rate of fire thing. Yeah, it's not damage per hit or whatever; it's damage per second. Which, man, just show damage per hit and show rate of fire. That's so much easier to wrap your head around. I feel like, instead of having to like calculate it out, and I don't know. That seems weird, but whatever. Well, so we all know.
So you wanted to talk about a game name issue.
You mean the email about email. So this was really interesting. I have a friend in my clan, Spurshot, who got this email. It's so weird. From Supercell, right? And it was weird. It had not very good grammar and stuff, but it's probably they outsource it or something. But let's see. So it says, "Hello, Mason." That's his name. "Thanks for getting back to us." And he had emailed them about something else, I think, or something. But they say, "I am sorry to inform you that Spurshot, Spurshot, which is his name, Spurshot can be considered as offensive name. Please provide us your new username. Should not be your real name, and it should not be offensive. Clash on. George, Supercell player support." So I want to know why they let Vagina Ripper slide and all these weird names that you hear in the game. You see all sorts of weird
Am I
weird
missing
stuff
something
in the game.
on the name Spurshot?
I looked it up. I was like, maybe I should look in Urban Dictionary, and it's actually like a crazy, sex position, like a, Cleveland steamer or, pearl necklace or something like, it means something really messed up. And I Googled it. There's nothing that comes up except Spurs hot. And they're just talking about the San Antonio Spurs when they won the championship. Like, they're really hot. The Spurs hot right now, or whatever. So Spurshot, it's not anywhere. It doesn't. So I have no clue. Maybe because it has shot in it, so it's like a gun thing.
Or it sounds sexual. If I start thinking about it, I'm like, well, what? And maybe somebody out there knows what a Spurshot is.
Yeah, definitely. If you know why that might be considered offensive, please email us and let us know, because I'm so curious, because there's some weird name. And so someone was like, well, then someone must have reported you. Like, someone must have been like, I find this offensive.
But I wonder if it's because you said he emailed them first.
Yeah, because they said, thanks for getting back to us. So maybe I should ask him what it was that he was, in contact with them about in the first place. But yeah, it just seems so like maybe there's someone that reported him that had something against him that was like, I find that offensive. So
yeah, that's really strange. So maybe what he should do is just write back with a more offensive name.
Well, that's what everyone said. He said his autocorrect changed it to Sperm Shot, and so maybe they thought that it was Sperm Shot, and so people would say, well, you should, change your name to Cum Blaster, and they gave him a lot of different ideas. And I mean, I have a guy in my clan named Have a Cock. So Have a Cock is cool, but Spur Shot is not cool. Like, it's just so yeah, I would love to find out what Supercell, and Have a Cock has always wanted to change his name because he thought it was funny at the beginning, and now he's, maxed out Town Hall 9, been to champion, been playing forever, and he's stuck with this name that I think it's an awesome name, but he wishes he could change it. So this poor guy who has an inappropriate name and wants to change his name, not allowed to, whereas Spurshot, who has just an innocuous, like, cool sounding name. So yeah, hopefully someone can shed some light on that, because I'm extremely curious, what the deal is with that. And that's, I mean, when you have a name that you like that's like, he's a well-known player in some, high level clans and stuff, visits like,
hey guys, it's me, Spurshot. And then they're like, you can't change your name here. You know.
Yeah. No, we don't know you.
Yeah.
No, really, this is Spurshot.
It looks like your base and it sounds like you, but
some stranger. Yeah. So that just seems, I don't know, it seems not cool. But yeah, I'll be very curious if anyone can help us out with that, because it's always so interesting, the things that Supercell decides to, like, intervene in, because they don't let anyone change their name. Like poor, like, Chief Droopy Nuts or whatever, who spelled Chief wrong. They won't let him change it, I'm sure, but this guy with a perfectly good name who doesn't want to change it.
Why not do an official name change request?
Yeah, I think people might do that sometime. Like, I feel like I've heard of them allowing people to do that in some situations, but I'm not sure. Maybe if anyone knows what the deal is with that, like situations in which they've let people change their names, like why that has been, like how you go about doing it, because I've heard about, like, a process for doing that or something, because it seems like kind of an obvious thing, that people should be allowed to at least change it once or something if they made a joke name or did something that then they regret, like let them or misspelled something.
Yeah,
I don't know, it seems like that, just because, I mean, when I did my name, I thought I'd be able to change it. So I'm just glad that I did something that I ended up liking. Like, I just did something off the top of my head. Like, oh, yeah, Boaz. Like, it was a name that I used to use in video games and stuff. And I was like, I'll just do that while I think of something else. And then I was stuck with it. So it's like, well, thank God I didn't do something weird and get stuck with it forever, because that's, so I don't know.
Dun, dun, dun. So find out more and continue the conversation with us. On the next episode, Scotty and Boaz has Rehash number 4, which will be out right after this episode. Get a hold of us at clashclanspodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at WBSMT Radio, and follow Boaz at TrueSonBoaz on Twitter, and TrueSonBoaz@gmail.com. And always 424-27-CLASH. Thanks for listening, and keep it clashy.
Skilly beep 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 skilly beep.